Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to introduce myself, but you already did. I'm Annick. I'm head of the Department of Diversity, and I'm actually really happy to hear all the stories yet. And first of all, I'm happy that diversity and inclusion is one of the main topics in the Revalue project. And thank you all for your sharing the stories and approaches to create a more inclusive society. As for Bruges, I must say, well, we are also finding it quite challenging to implement aspects of diversity and inclusion in all our departments. But the good news is that we all accept this challenge. So our story will lies in the field of governance more. Just like any other city, is Bruges a diversity, super diversity. And we have more than 170,000 residents, each of whom is unique, of course. As in all cities, there are different religions, different cultural traditions, different tastes, preferences. But, and that is important, what we do all have in common is that, for instance, Bruges is everybody's home, and everyone should feel at home in our city. But the main question is, how do we deal with that? How can we make this happen as a city? And how can we make sure that all policies make everyone feel at home? It's really not obvious. And especially in, our city organization, everyone works for a certain policy domain, and there's a little connection with each other, and the challenge is to find a way to make it more necessary, or make it more cross-sectoral, creating cross-sectoral connections. And in Bush, we do this by using the SDGs as a basis. We have developed several tools to ensure that everyone can approach a certain project from various perspectives. For example, we call it a circle exercise, where you put the K district. That's the district we want to develop in Bruges, in the middle of it. And you think about what is the impact of the K district on each of the 17 SDGs. And it's important because, the baseline of the SDGs is to leave no one behind. So have a more inclusive project. And for example, what is the impact of the K district on reducing poverty, on reducing inequality, on education and economic and environmental aspects? And there are some relevant questions we should ask by this, just as are we creating safe spaces where everyone can be themselves? Are we encouraging everyone to take positive initiatives for the neighborhoods? Does the project provide enough shelter, transit housing to accommodate people in need? Also, does the project address social mix in housing units? Are there enough green spaces, for instance, that can connect neighborhoods and people contributing to a livable, vibrant, and warm city we want to be? So this is just one method we use in our city administration. And but Lies will tell more about another approach, which is the concept of the city atelier.
So we want to use all these methods more internally in the city administration, because the K district was already defined in the spatial policy plan of Bruges as a transformation spot, a spot where there was a lot of interest of developers, where there was a need of a lead partner to coordinate all these different plans. And so the city wants to be the director of this area, which is currently very inefficient. It's not attractive right now. And all these numbers you can see in the K district of these spots, of these areas, we already received some questions of developers, of owners of the buildings regarding to the future of their spots, regarding to some urban planning in this area. So the current approach in Bruges to have contact with these developers is as follows. So every developer interested in developing a plot is in contact with one person of the city. It's the permit officer, and the permit officer is the SPOC for this developer. She is the one who ultimately seeks advice from all the various departments related to it, and passes the advice on to the developer. So, and if the developer doesn't agree this advice, he goes to speak the different alderman, for example. He goes to speak the mayor. He can speak to different departments to make the most of it, to make their project as profitable as possible, mostly out of self-interest. So we wanted to make this trajectory more inclusive within the city organization, and want to try this out within the Revalue project with the City Atelier in the K district. So what I'm talking about now, the City Atelier, is just regarding to the K district. So beforehand, all heads of department were briefed by us, the people of Revalue, during bilateral meetings on how this City Atelier works. So there was an anonymous comment that is formed as a step in the right direction of inclusive decision making. So during the first City Atelier, the process was discussed in detail. The process of the City Atelier, which is as follows. So during a first exploratory discussion with the developer, we provide preconditions and a timeline to the developer that it's followed as closely as possible. So the preconditions refer to the policy context, for example, like policy plans, action plans, the concept study of the K district, and the planning context, as well as the parameters of the city atelier itself. For example, what will be discussed in this during the city atelier, or from starting from which surface, for example. So during the city atelier, the developer presents his project, followed by a constructive discussion in which possible challenges are considered in a solution-oriented way. Several weeks in advance, every city department receives from the developer the plans he already has, in order to assess already internally. And after the discussion with the developer, all the city departments are working together within a city atelier to one constructive advice as a feedback from the city as a whole we can give to the developer. This is a slide I showed to the heads of department during the bilateral meetings in advance of the City Atelier, because we will have now the second City Atelier next month or in a couple of weeks. So it's a picture of an image close to the railway station of Brussels North. So we don't have to be afraid of the big fish, the developers we need in the city. We still need them because they are investing in our city. So all city departments have to be organized, work together with the developers, so the plans of the developers are quicker in line with the policy plans and the planning context of the city. So I show this, and this is really, we have to keep in mind to just go in one line together with the developer, and to be constructively and solution oriented with them. So that's a presentation on Bruges.